The views and opinions of this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. There is substantial risk of loss in trading futures and options, which you should carefully consider prior to trading.
Welcome back to Market Talk. Again, I'm Susan Littlefield, sitting in today for Jesse Allen. Bryan Doherty joins us with Total Farm Marketing. Excited to talk about a couple factors that are working into this marketplace today, Bryan. From a technical perspective, there's been some reversal action that's been happening through the mid-session as we get closer and see what is in those close. There's a lot of outside factors that are weighing in. What has been the key that you've seen as you look at the markets today?
Well, I think the biggest key outside factor is just the idea of increased rainfall chances in areas that really need rain. I'm talking northern Illinois and some other regions of the Midwest. That the heat's coming in, but it does look like there's either rain on the radar, rain that's fallen, or rain in the forecast. And again, you got another 6 to 10 day forecast after coming. Well, the markets were closed on Thursday, so I'm going to say coming back to the marketplace, coming back to work on Friday here. The forecasts have remained consistent. 6 to 10 day outlooks continue to remain with normal to above normal rainfall in the forecast. So it's just tough for a corn market to rally on that. Expectations are crop ratings probably stay unchanged for the week. Beans have had a good supportive week, however, showing some signs of weakness today, looking at a reversal going into a Friday. As we talk, I've got beans about 8 cents lower after posting their highest point this morning since last February. So November new crop beans posting a reversal on the charts, not the kind of thing you want to see up at the top of a rally. And the rally, if you might remember, on June 12th, 1022 was the low, reach a high today of 1074 and a quarter. So that's a nice push, and now reversing. Outside markets, well, a lot of uncertainty, of course, with wherever you want to look. But let's call it the Iran-Israel situation. Don't know for sure where the U.S. involvement is or will be with that. So you've got that. You've got a few things here that are just really, I think, concerning in general to the marketplace. Energy prices, last I'll end up with that as a quick flyover. Energy prices today trading close to steady, but they too have been volatile. Continue to concern that the Strait of Hormuz could be closed by the Iranians. If it is, that's over 20 million barrels a day that are not making their way to the marketplace, primarily the Asian markets.
So as we look at going into this weekend, obviously anything that happens between Israel and Iran, and knowing that the United States and our president's going to have some sort of announcement in the next 2 weeks, is that going to add some pressure to our overnight trade Sunday night?
Well, it's one of those things that certainly could, and I would be concerned that if the market doesn't like uncertainties, and when those uncertainties sort of exasperate themselves, there's a tendency for traders, or just let's call it the trade, to kind of fold their wings in a little bit and stay on the sideline. Now that being said, I guess too, I would make the argument to take a look at something like the wheat markets had a really good push early on in this week through Wednesday, and of course the markets are closed yesterday and off about a nickel today. They had a really big day on Wednesday though, so off a nickel is probably expected. I would think there's two things I want to hit on here. One, we talked about the world events. Commodities still, I think, from my view, corn, beans, wheat, still good value to end users. So sometimes you see the exact opposite. When you see uncertainty growing politically, you do see where that export business or the need to own something that's of hardcore commodity increases. But I think the story that I didn't touch on earlier with the wheat is just this continuous forecast too for rain, where they really want to get at the wheat harvest, and the high winds that hit the wheat harvest or hit the Southwest here recently, just really not very good and not wanted by producers. So big picture perspective, a concern for sure.
And I understand there's some concern as well with some of the quality of that wheat coming off the combine.
Well, that grows in the same type of high humidity conditions that just are tough. Wheat is a finicky plant. It can sprout in the head, as everyone knows, and then you have quality concerns. And that might be weighing on corn a little bit today. I don't think that's a reason, but there could be some additional feed wheat around in the weeks ahead because it's just wheat that didn't meet the quality standards.
You know, I've seen this weather tale of two stories. Some saying, oh, this heat and humidity that we're going to get hit with over the next couple of days, this is not what we need for crops, especially if they didn't get the rains. But then on the flip side, they're like, oh, this is going to be great for the soybeans to help push them along a little bit quicker.
Well, I think it depends where you are, but I'll tell you, if you lived or driving around in my part of the world, which is southern Wisconsin, the bean crop has been exceptionally small in a lot of the fields. So some type of catalyst, some heat, we don't probably need the moisture, but just moisture, heat. You got to think things are going to pop, and the same with corn. I expressed this to many producers I was talking to last week throughout the country that in my part of the world, if you were driving around, you thought, boy, these crops look pretty good if it's like May 18th or May 20th, not June 15th. And now here we are, the 20th. So it really needs some good heat units. It needs to pop. I'm sure it'll look really good, benefit. Um, but as I've said before on Jesse's program, that I think this is a really good crop. I don't think it's a great crop. There have just been too many challenges this spring in too many areas and too long to go to really think that we've got record yields. I might eat my words here, but I just don't see that we've got quite the mix of things in spring and early summer to get you to that 181 in corn and 52 and a half in beans.
Did it surprise you the bean oil had new highs overnight?
No, I think this whole bean oil bioenergy concerns about lower bean acres, crop condition concerns, ratings have dropped off the last couple of weeks. Not a lot, but a little bit. So we talk about this weather helping beans. Well, it needs to help them to get back to where they were just 3 weeks ago. So I think the bean oil is kind of the darling right now, and the traders are really liking owning oil, selling meal. We'll see if that holds up, but I'll tell you, this whole we talk about the political things a month ago was, oh gosh, what's going to happen to this bio energy diesel? And all of a sudden we get some really nice news out of that. So the mandates are more gallons, and it didn't take long for bean oil and beans to be well supported with that.
Well, Bryan, as you and I are speaking, cattle on feed report numbers will have become available. I want to quickly mention you can see those numbers when you go to the American Ag Network website. There'll be a full breakdown there with some commentary on that. But looking at the fact that we had a cattle on feed report, we've had an interesting cash market as of late with a bit of a pullback in some areas this week. What is your thoughts for these cash as we move forward in these record high times we've been in?
Yeah, so the board punched into record high levels recently, and then all of a sudden it did a couple reversals, couple down days, couple strong up days, and then today it's all over the map. Good gains early on, now reversing lower. Cattle on feed report this afternoon. I think the cattle on feed reports are going to tell us probably what we already know within reason, that the supply of cattle and beef is still tight. That'll remain the case. Feeders are well supported on that, and the live market is well supported in context on that. However, the question is, when this cash market just continues to move and the cutout values pushing into all-time new high levels this week, when doesn't when doesn't the board follow through? So I'm a little bit surprised that we reversed down today. I think the general concern in the marketplace is that, hey, look, there's just not an appetite to buy these record high prices on the board. There's too much risk. So the market has corrected here and moved down to a 40-day moving average. You look on a chart, it's pretty well corrected. You could maybe make the argument that the futures market is biased in the belief that maybe this cattle contract or this complex is starting to level out. Let me give you an example. Back on May 14th, August cattle hit a high of 214.50, closed lower that day and closed at 208.45. So big reversal downward. They dropped off a little bit, ground higher, put in the high here on June 9th. Now they backed off a little bit. And where are they today? 210.07, still within that range of the 14th of May. So if you look back the last 5 weeks, we've been higher, we've been lower, but we're really, leveling out here. And the market's trying to find its direction, whether or not it's peaked or whether this is just a down push before the next run higher. Unless that cash market really peters out, though, you got to wonder if this isn't just a resting point before we get the cattle on feed report under the belt and the buyers come back in and buy the dip in the futures, anticipating cash will hold at least at a high enough level that futures need to move higher to move toward where the cash is.
All right. Well, you enjoy your weekend, Brian, and hopefully we get some decent bean weather for you guys in the southern part of Wisconsin.
Well, I thank you very much, and appreciate that. And we wish everybody, success here as the uncertainty of weather unfolds, and yet, we'll stay at it, keep working at it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call, 800-334-9779.
That was going to be my next question. Thanks so much, Brian. Bryan Doherty joining us today. Of course, he's with Total Farm Marketing on this edition of Market Talk.
Make sure to subscribe to the Market Talk YouTube channel. You can watch our latest interviews with top market analysts in the country, find bonus content, and much more. It's easy. Just go to youtube.com/@MarketTalkAg and hit the subscribe button. Or you can search for Market Talk Ag on YouTube.